Hey guys, it's been a long time, right? Let's just wait for a couple of people to join in. I'm so thrilled about this one. So, I don't know how long it's been since we did a live, but we've been having the time of our lives just bringing justice to logophilia. What do I mean by that? So, as you guys may know, we've been doing the Fundamental Etymology Workshop, and we've been bringing the Fundamental Etymology Workshop live. That's a first. Now, it was the oldest workshop that we ever made, and there's a lot of emotionality that goes into getting something that you're so attached to become evolved, to go over such drastic evolution of the kind where you just completely change the form, to reimagine something. I don't know, we're the emotional kinds at Logophilia. For us, it was a very big deal, and it went off so well, if I may say so myself. FEW online was just brilliant. It was a fantastic experience doing that, bringing that to people not just from Allahabad and those lucky ones who could actually take the time to travel. When we used to do FEW in the classroom, it used to be dominated by people from Allahabad, of course, and those people from Allahabad who actually got to know about logophilia, which is a very small number. But there would also be some people who would come in from some other places because they had the mindfulness to understand the value of what logophilia brings, and they would book their tickets in advance. They would come in and stay in hotels. And now when we did this online, we had a person from the northeast, Shillong to be precise. We had a person from Tamil Nadu. We had many people from Karnataka, so Bangalore. We had many people from Delhi. We had people from Bombay. We had people from Allahabad. We had people from Banaras. It was such a good national demographic that we could get. So that's why we could not come to you live. That's why we've been away. That's why we've kept our distance. That's why we've been so silent. And I'd like to say sorry to you on behalf of Logophilia. We've been getting so many messages from people saying, why don't you do your live sessions? We really enjoy that. And well, we appreciate the fact that you've been missing us. We've been missing you too. And therefore, tired as we've been, we said, let's do this. This is important. So, hi, this is Dhruv. Welcome back to Logophilia Live. And it feels great to be here. Now, I'm assuming that you know why we're here. If you saw the stories of Logophilia, you kind of know why we're here. If not, we're going to be discussing something fairly iffy, something that most people don't even talk about. Those who do talk about it in judgment terms. They talk about it like an abuse. But stick around till the end of the sessions, and you'll figure out whether this is judgment or this is caring. There's this very important Logophilia tenet. We make the difference between judging and caring. And if you want to know more about that, you should come into the Logophilia public speaking program sometime. Alright, so I want somebody to give me a thumbs up in the comments if you think that my audio is good enough for you to go. I'm raring to start. I want a thumbs up if you think that the audio is good enough for you to go. Hi Pranjali, hi Devanshi. Somebody give me a thumbs up. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, good. Super. So, we're here today to ask you a very important question and also to answer that question. And the question is, are you a winner or a loser? When you listen to this question, don't get reminded of the worst people that you know. Don't get reminded of those people who are snobbish. Don't get reminded of those people who like to make you feel low because that's their way of feeling high. This is not that session. I'm not that person. Logophilia doesn't do that. Do you get that? This is not what we're doing. So when we talk about the concept of winners and losers, We talk about it from the zeal of making a very strong distinction between two kinds of people. Hi, 𝗪𝗧𝗧. Good to see you too. Two kinds of people. And let me give you a little bit of background before I come to the two kinds of people. So, I, in the capacity of running Logophilia as an organization, I get to meet a very large number of people, particularly the young kind. And a very large number of people from this group constitutes the category of talented. When somebody introduces somebody to me as a talented person, it doesn't surprise me. I've known a very large number of that kind. It's not rare for somebody to have a talent. It's definitely not rare for somebody to be aware of those talents. You know what's rare? People who do something about their talents. People who take their talents and convert them into abilities. People who take their talents and join them with discipline to be able to realize their dreams. I know a lot of wishful thinkers. I know a lot of people who are very vain about themselves. I know a lot of people who are very fond of themselves. I know a lot of people who don't understand the difference between self-love and self-respect. If you understand this concept right, I'm not going to tell you right away. If you understand the concept of, if you understand the difference between self-love and self-respect, put it in the comments below. I want to know if you know what I'm talking about. There is a very big difference between self-love and self-respect. I want to know if you know it. If you know it, just type yes. If not, I'm going to take the cue and I'm going to explain that to you. So just say yes if you know the concept. All right, so coming back to the point, I understand the difference between self-love and self-respect, and I know a large number of people who don't. I understand the difference between people who are talented and people who are successful. There's a world of a difference, you know. So I can see that I'm okay. So I've got one yes for self-love versus self-respect. I know a guy. I used to be, when I was in university, I used to be very intimidated by the talent of this guy. This guy was one of the most phenomenal singers that you can ever find. This guy was incredible. Do you understand octaves? So you understand octaves, right? So octave 1, octave 2, octave 3, just imagine like a keyboard, set of 8 notes. It's very okay to be able to sing in octave 2. Octave 1 is below this, so that requires you to speak in a very bass kind of voice, or sing in a bass voice. As you go up, your voice starts to go thin, 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 thin. And when you get into this last part, the last part is octave 3. It's actually not last at all. You can go into an infinite number of octaves. I'm just saying the human vocal capacity is limited. And therefore I'm saying this last part. It gets pretty hard to sing on a very high note for one breath. I know this guy who could hold a 3rd octave high-pitched note for about 40 seconds. That's very difficult to do. I know this guy. He lives in my city. You would not have even heard of him. He does not have an Instagram of the kind that singers should have. He has not done justice to himself. Yes, Ranjana, we're getting to that. And you know what he do? You know what he do? Yeah. So you know what he did? He took up the path of social security. He went into self-preservation. He found himself a job at the AG's office. He is a regular, nondescript, a person without a description, nondescript AG's office officer who has this incredible capacity to sing. His 𝗀𝗲𝗃𝗏 harkat is so incredible that I used to feel intimidated. I'm trained in classical music. I've done a bachelor's in classical music, vocal. I used to feel scared of this guy. He's now an officer in the AG's office. Nobody knows about his singing apart from his small little circuit of people. I know a very large number of people who are talented. I know a much larger number of people who are talented but not successful. That's the theme of today. So what we're going to be talking about what we're going to be talking about is the concept of who's a loser and who's a winner. If you stick around for just long enough, we're going to be also coming to the second part of the topic as to how to be a winner. Yeah? Are we ready to dive in? Yes. Give me 1 second. 1 second. And we're back. Good to see so many people today. Okay, good. So, because Ranjana explicitly requested, difference between self-love and self-respect is very simple. Self-love is the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to do to love yourself. It's a very rare thing when somebody genuinely hates themselves. That's not even a thing. You need to have some element of depression to be able to hate yourself. And that's also, I don't know. Let's not get there. Self-love is the easiest thing to do. Examples of self-love: when you pamper yourself, when you allow yourself to have not a very high standard of discipline, when you allow yourself to not be pushing yourself to do the right thing for society, right thing for yourself. When you allow other people to tell you what you have to do because you did not have the spine to stand up for yourself. You know, standing up for yourself is not a physical act. I'm trying to be funny in a very lame way. I'm sorry about that. It's not a physical act. It's an act that requires a lot of commitment. It's an act that requires discipline. It's an act that requires you to master something called delay of gratification. Let's say you want to become successful at, I was looking for an industry, but then I just very quickly checked myself. What I'm going to say is applicable to all industries. If you want to be successful at anything, it's not just if you want to be a model that you should maybe keep that chocolate cake away for a while. It's for everything, for a large number of reasons. One, chocolate has sugar. Sugar is acidic. It causes acidity. When it causes acidity, it makes you tired. If it makes you tired, you're not going to be able to perform well. If you're not able to perform well, you're not going to be successful. Number two, it has fat. It's going to make you look very different from what you might want to look like. See, if you're a large body type, if you're an endomorph, that's called being a large body type. That's not called being fat. Even then, John Abraham is a large body type, but he exercises. He remains fit. Dwayne Johnson is a very large body type. He's not fat. He's fit, right? So it's called delay of gratification. Can you keep that chocolate cake aside for a victory moment, saying, I will first do this for 7 days. If I get there, I'm going to reward myself for the slice of cake. There's a difference between self-love and self-respect, and the difference lies in having the capacity to do the right thing. If you can say no to yourself, if you can stop yourself from being the worst version, being an ordinary version, being a regular version of yourself, you have self-respect. And if you have self-respect, the world becomes so much easier to live inside. So Ranjana, I hope I've been able to answer your question. That's the difference between self-love and self-respect. If you have self-love, at the time when you want to do something, you will find yourself watching TV, procrastinating for another day, not looking to listen to feedback. There's a lot that goes on in that domain. Self-love is I'm not asking you to hate yourself. I'm just saying choose respect, because self-respect is not automatic. You don't respect yourself. You love yourself. You don't respect yourself if you don't have discipline, if you don't have delay of gratification. Now, thank you, Ranjana. So with that being the background, let's jump right into what we're here to discuss. And what we're here for is the difference between a winner and a loser. If somebody calls you a loser, I don't know whether you want to take offense to that or not. If you're a genuine winner, you don't need to take offense to that. If you're a low self-esteem person, which means if you're a genuine loser, yeah, you might want to take offense to that, but taking offense will not get you anywhere. So what is a loser? I've been promising to jump right in. Let's actually do that. What is a loser? A loser is not a person who has bad looks. That's not a loser. When you watch movies, you often find these portrayals of characters that want to use the term loser to talk about a person like that. Bad looks is not a loser, right? Who's not a loser? A poor person is not a loser. A badly dressed person is not a loser. If you don't have money, that doesn't make you a loser at all. And I have justification for everything that I'm saying here. So in case you have a question, just ask me in the comments saying, can you explain how that is true? If you're a weak person, if you've just gone through a disease or something, if you're going through a bad phase in life, that does not make you a loser. But that doesn't make you, none of these things make you winners as well, by the way. If you're not a loser, that does not mean that you're a winner by default. Not being a loser is not being a winner. It's a good sentence. Not being a loser is not being a winner, right? I know a person who once said to me, you're calling me bad, you don't have any idea how bad people can get. You see the fault in that argument, right? So this person's definition of being a good person is being not the worst example of human beings possible. Which means that if you want to say that somebody is kind, you're going to say at least you're not butchering people as they go. You're not cutting up people, you're a kind person. What nonsense. Just really, really, really nothing. Okay? So, what makes somebody a loser is a losing attitude. What's a losing attitude, you ask me? A losing attitude is when you, and this is something that some people call the imposter syndrome as well. The imposter syndrome might come into this flavor a little bit, but it will not entirely justify what we're about to say. A person has a losing attitude if they don't value victory over self-love. You can write this part down if you want to. A person has a losing attitude, I'm going to say it again, a person has a losing attitude if they don't value victory over self-love. Now, let's circle back to what we said a little while ago. Victory needs discipline. Hi, Arjun. Victory needs discipline. And if you want to be disciplined, you've got to put in some level of sacrifice. You've got to put in some level of pushing yourself. You've got to put in some level of tall order commitment to be able to get there, to get to the point where you actually have a chance of winning. Now, winning does not necessarily need to be a competition. It doesn't need to be a victory over somebody else. Sometimes it's just a victory against yourself. I prize myself to be the only etymology educator in the world, which means that I'm not fighting a race against somebody else. I'm just fighting a race against my own self. I am walking and sometimes running in my own track. I don't need to keep pace with everybody else because everybody else is fighting their own race. I'm fighting mine. You got to learn how to not have that losing attitude. Don't choose self-love. Don't pamper yourself. Don't buy yourself those extra clothes when you don't have the money. Don't buy yourself those extra sweets when you don't have the exercise. Don't buy yourself that escape route from not being kind to those that you call significant, because then your own quality of life goes to trash. It takes a lot of character to be able to stand up for what is right. Right? In a world as populated as ours, it is very rare to see people helping those on the road, those strangers that need help. I'm not one guy asking you to do that. I am the guy who's very, very upset about the fact that people live with other people and those other people are sometimes sad. And these guys that live with these people who are sad, they don't always care. They don't care to go and ask what's happened. They don't always go, even if they've asked what's happened, they don't always go up and say, right, this has happened. What can we do about it? I'm going to hold your hand till you need hand holding. We know people who sleep till late hours in the morning. Their families have already done the work by that time. By the time these guys wake up, they ask, is breakfast ready? That's the difference between self-love and self-respect. You've got to contribute. You've got to see value. And therefore, why am I persistently saying the word value? I'm saying the word value because when you value something, you're ready to buy into it. How do you buy into something? You buy something by giving up something of your own. In the marketplace, you have to pay money to get something, right? That's called buying something. When you buy into something that you find valuable, you have to give up something of your own. If you want to become a 𝗪𝗡 𝗏𝗏𝗏, if you want to be a renowned sports person, you've got to put in the hours of practice. You've got to put in the hours of training. As the Greeks used to say, the more you sweat in practice, the lesser you'll bleed in battle. It's a very important thing. Robin Sharma says this all the time. It's a very important thing that needs to be understood. That's the difference between self-love and self-respect. So, not having the winning attitude leads you to the path of being a loser. And this is the time when you take your pens out. This is the time when you write this down. Here's the truth of the matter, according to me. You're a loser. You have the losing attitude. If you don't value victory, we've already done that part. We don't value victory over self-love. The second and the most important part of this is, you're a loser if you don't learn from your mistakes. I'm going to say that again. You're a loser if you don't learn from your mistakes. You're a loser if you're not afraid of losing. A person who repeats their mistake is one who's not afraid of losing. You know, not having the fear of losing is the first part of courage. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the fear of failure. That's a whole different thing. I'm saying you should be very, very afraid of losing. What is losing? So let's just get back to that part of the story. There are two ways in which you can lose something, right? Actually three, but the third one is accidental, so we're not going to be talking about that. So the most basic way in which you can lose something is, you were really prepared for, this is Wimbledon, you're really prepared to meet your opponent in battle. You know, you've studied their every shot, you've gone through their videos, you know what they do when you do that, when you do that. It's very simple for you. You mapped your opponent out 100%. You walk out to that game, and what do you see? It's rained out there. You were so pumped up, you had your perfect preparation. It's rained out there, a match got cancelled. That's not losing, that's an accident. You didn't find rain, you slipped, you fell, you had to forfeit the trophy to this person because you had a sprained ankle, you just could not get yourself to play. That's an accidental failure. That's not a failure at all for you to be bothered about. That's not something that you can prevent, because accidents can be avoided sometimes, but not 100% prevented. Accidents will happen, as the saying goes, and that's one part of it. That's not the part that I want to talk about. Here's the part that I want to talk about. There are two kinds of other losers in this entire story. There is one way of losing, which is called losing to a worthy opponent. If somebody is better than you, there is no shame in losing, because there's a lesson over there that you need to learn. I'm going to stick with the Wimbledon example for a while. I'm going to stick with the tennis example for a while. If you're playing against, I don't know, Roger Federer maybe, he's so good. He's so good that if that person defeats you, come on. You're playing against one of the best in the world. There's no shame in that. Learn. Feel privileged that you got to do that match. Learn. All right? But let's say you were an equal opponent to Roger Federer. Let's say you had a response to every single shot that Roger was throwing towards you. And let's say that you just did not have the discipline to control the ball from going into the net. That in sports metaphors is called an unforced error. So if you're writing this down, please write these two things down. There are two kinds of errors. One are forced errors and the other unforced errors. A forced error is an error that is made by an opponent, made in you, your performance, by an opponent that is more worthy than you. If somebody forces you to make an error because they are simply better prepared, well, they caught you. That's justice. That's how it should be. If somebody's better prepared than you, they deserve to win. If they sprained their ankle and you took advantage, don't call that victory. Don't post that on Instagram. That's not a victory. Really not. So that's a forced error. Somebody's better than you, they force an error out of you, they take a point, they earn that point. That's fantastic. An unforced error is when you just give away the point. You just did not have the discipline to understand how not to hit the ball into the net. The opponent was having a bad day. You were having a lazy day. You just gave it up. You had 6 hours to prepare for something. You watched TV for the first 5.5 hours. You gave yourself 30 minutes to prepare for that thing. You just gave it away. That's an unforced error. You live with a person who's better than you. You live with a person who's inspirational to you. You live with a person who has higher standards of discipline than you. You watch this person every single day. You choose not to learn anything from that person. You choose not to emulate this person. You choose not to go and talk to this person and ask this person, how do you do this thing? I would like to learn this from you. That's an unforced error. You're just inviting your loss. I hate to see a person who's a loser cry about losing. The worst part about this is that the people who lose the most also cry the most, and they make a lot of noise about it. They'll go to their friends and they say, "Pata hai, main haar gaya." And they're going to create a sob fest. It's basically a self-pity fest. They wanted to be served breakfast in bed. They did not want to learn how to make that breakfast. They were very fussy about what they wanted to eat. They wanted somebody to just imagine that and bring it to them so that they did not have to do anything. My friend, life does not work that way. If you want to build a house, you either need to have the money to buy the resources for building a house, or you need to have the resources to get the resource material to build the house, or learn how to make the house. Those are the three ways. If you wish upon a dream, if you wish that a fairy godmother is going to come and rescue you and give you things that you want, you're a loser. You're going to lose. And the rate of losing in the world is increasing with population. With competition becoming greater, the extent to which you can stun someone, dazzle someone, is going down. In economics, you call this the diminishing marginal utility principle. There are far too many dazzlers in the world. Just take a look at Instagram, the kind of things people can do now, the kind of stunts people can pull now, the kind of looks people have, the kind of physiques people can make for themselves, the kind of incredible talent. You know, Sonu Nigam used to be a sensation when he was in Delhi University. He used to be this incredible guy. It was very obvious for a person of that level of recognition to go into the career of music. Now, you have a very large number of people who have access to videos on how to sing, on how to learn. There are people who are staying inside their homes, nondescript mode. Nobody knows who they are. They're practicing day and night. And they come a dime a dozen. They come a dime a dozen. Sonu Nigam would be nothing compared to a large number of these guys that I know, that you must have also seen. But our thresholds have gone up because so many people can now do that one thing that used to be so exceptional about the one singer. So many people can do it now that, it's much more difficult to win. So if you've been writing this down, losing is about valuing self-love over self-respect. Losing. You're a loser if you don't know how to learn from your mistakes. Please write this next part down. Victory has to be deserved. Feel bad if somebody hands you the victory. Feel bad if the question paper was easy. Feel bad if your opponent was having a low kind of day. Feel bad if not too many people showed up to that debate competition of yours. Don't feel nice when somebody gives you money as a gift. Don't feel nice about that. They're just making it difficult and unrealistic for you. The world does not do that. Feel bad if you have to use your looks to feel victorious. Feel bad about that. Because these are things that can't be controlled. These are things that don't really make victory. Discipline makes victory. Okay? So winning is a mindset. It's an insistence. It's a way of life. And it requires all the persistence that you can pull. It requires all the training that you can garner. It requires all the advice. And most importantly, all the feedback that you can get. Okay? Now, if you understand losing, you by default also understand winning. So winning is when you value self-respect over self-love. Winning is when you learn from your mistakes. And before we start to already spill our beans, let's come very quickly to the most important part of this discussion. The most important part of this discussion that I wanted to talk about is how to be a winner. Yeah? So very quickly, in case anybody has a question or somebody wants to join in with me to ask a question, you're very welcome. We've just completed the segment. This is the second part. In case you want to ask a question, now is a great time. It's going to give you a minute to pause over there and think if you have a question to ask me. Okay, so let's jump right in. How to be a winner. This is the part that you need to note down. There are three kinds of mistake learning mechanisms that you can put in. There are three ways of learning from a mistake, okay? You want to guess what that is? Three ways of learning from a mistake. One is called the direct lesson. If you're writing this down, call it the direct lesson. Learning by falling. The direct lesson is when you learn by falling. So you were running on the stairs, you slipped because there was a banana peel over there, just to make things a little more spicy. You slipped on the banana peel and you fell. You learnt the lesson saying whenever you see a banana peel, don't run on it. That's called a direct lesson. So you've just learnt from falling, literally. The fall is metaphorical. I made it literal so that, well, you guys will understand it. That is one, the direct lesson. Number two, you can have an indirect lesson, which is also called a vicarious lesson. That's V-I-C-A-R-I-O-U-S, vicarious lesson. You don't need to fall yourself to learn a lesson. If you're a careful person, if you're a person with a high student identity, in Logophilia we call this a high student identity. If you're a careful person, if you're a person who wants to win in life, you saw somebody else fall on a banana peel, you said, aha, so banana peels are slippery. I should take a note of that. That's a person who just learned a lesson right there. That's an indirect lesson. It's a vicarious. You get that word into your vocabulary, please. It's a good word. It's called a vicarious lesson or vicarious learning. So number one, direct lesson. Number two, indirect or vicarious lesson. Number three, this is the fun part of it. This is the part that most people just don't pay attention to. You know that moment when somebody gives you a suggestion or a feedback or just comes and criticizes you. What's your reaction to that? Do you feel bad about it? It's possible that that person may not have known how to say it. It's possible that that person does not know how to give feedback. It's possible that that person could not separate their disappointment from the objective truth. Why do you always dress like this? This is no way to do it. Maybe they got a little bit emotional about it. Maybe they could not separate. Was there a lesson that could have been learned? Right? Was there a lesson that could have been learned? That's the part that needs to be understood. So, When somebody gives you feedback, always check for, is this something that you want to learn from? Is this something that can be valuable to you? Is this something where nothing can be extracted? It becomes much easier when you know the kind of people that you respect. It becomes much easier when you're true to your art, because then the kind of people you respect are not just the kind of people that are nice to you. You know, there are people who just like people who are nice to them. Self-love versus self-respect all over again. Look for feedback from somebody who knows what you're doing and what you're talking about. If that is the case, good feedback. Look for something who will be a customer to what you're doing or what you're talking about. When I'm saying customer, I'm not just saying money, right? Let's say you're a singer. Is this a person who likes music? If so, go sing for that person. Doesn't matter if this person knows how to sing or not. Music is an experience, right? If you can create a great experience for this person, there you go. If you're singing extremely classical music, and if this person gets bored because this person is not trained, don't sing classical music for this guy because you're singing to the wrong choir, right? Don't preach to this person. Ask for, what was the kind of experience I created? Could I do that for you? Could I bring value to your life? Because remember, like Einstein said, if you truly understand something, you can explain it to anyone. So if you truly understand music, we're coming up with music a lot in this life. There is this TED Talk that I watched many years ago. I should have noted down the guy's name. There's this fantastic guy who can make classical, Western classical music conversational to everyone in the audience. He does this in 18 minutes. And there are people who understand very heavy nuances of classical music just by watching his TED Talk live inside this TED Talk. Just go and do that. If you truly understand something, you can make it valuable for anyone. Right? So it's very difficult to be able to say no to feedback if you have a winning attitude. It's just that, let's say that you're Shahrukh Khan. And if I come and tell you that Shahrukh Khan, you don't know how to act, maybe you've gone through so many realms of acting levels, maybe you put in so much effort into learning how to do what. Maybe if you're Shahrukh Khan, you just need to ask me one question back. Why do you think so? Whenever somebody gives you feedback, just ask them this one question. Why do you think so? And watch for their answer. Whether or not you have to listen to their feedback, whether or not you have to pay attention to their feedback is going to be determined by their answer. As soon as you understand this person has no clue what they're talking about, be thankful. Somebody gave you the respect of giving you attention, giving you feedback, not just attention, giving you feedback. Be thankful. Let them know that you're thankful. And move on in life. If there's somebody that can add value to you, that's where it will lie, right? Why is feedback so important? Why am I stressing about this so much? Feedback makes you prevent a direct lesson because they just serve it to you, right? Let's say that you're driving, somebody's sitting next to you. You're driving, somebody's sitting next to you. They see that you don't do the 10 and 2, that your hand is not on the gear, that you either put your hand wherever you want to and just one hand on the steering. You're not holding that gear. This person needs to tell you, what are you doing? What happens when you need to change gears? Suddenly something comes in front of you. You suddenly have to become alert at that point. 10 and 2 is good. Listen to this person, right? Because this person is going to prevent you from an accident in the making. You don't need a direct lesson to learn everything. मौत को जानने के लिए मरना ज़रूरी नहीं होता है. You get that, right? So you got to be a little smart about these things. So feedback is fantastic. I'm a very big fan of feedback. We had gone to, in the early days of Logophilia, we went to LSR, Lady Shri Ram College. And this was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was the first time that we went to LSR. We've gone there twice. This is the first time that we went there, and there were 67 girls who participated. Out of that, 66 girls were absolute 5 stars to us. They loved the program. We were not surprised. We were happy to receive their feedback. We go through feedback very, very seriously. There was one girl who said, I really liked the program, but I would have loved, yes, Vanshika, your college, but I would have loved to, stop distracting me, but I would have loved to see some illustrations on the slides. That was it. That was the day when there was a person called 𝗀𝗲𝗧 Singh who used to work in Logophilia in those days. He developed a conscience, says, I'm going to take that up. He said, why can't we make this happen? It took 𝗀𝗲𝗧 4 years to draw 1,200 illustrations for us. We're very grateful, we're very happy, we're very honored that he came to work with Logophilia at that point of time. That girl is called 𝗀𝗲𝗧 ki maa because that was the day when 𝗀𝗲𝗧 was born in real term. 𝗀𝗲𝗧 then went on to do National Institute of Design degree. He's now a full-on graphic person, and his graphics journey began with Logophilia because there was a girl in LSR who said, let there be illustrations, and we said, fine, let there be illustrations. So feedback is important. Don't wait for that accident to happen. If you're a person who's careful enough, if you're a person who cares, if you're a person who, you'll listen to feedback, right? Okay, so how to be a winner? Well, learn from mistakes. Number 1, direct lessons. Number 2, indirect or vicarious lessons. Number 3, feedback. And of course, know how to listen to feedback. What kind of feedback is good? What kind of feedback is not good? And please understand this next one thing. Here's a very quick tip. If you want to be a winner, you have to understand this one session. And this session is something that you're going to do with yourself. Every time you make a mistake, every time you mess up, I don't want to say the other thing. Every time you mess up, you're going to do this one thing. You have to apologize. And I know what you're thinking. An apology is not just the saying of sorry. It's not just the saying of sorry to the other person. It's not you becoming a chota person, bending down before this person and saying, I'm sorry. Okay, 𝗀𝗲𝗧 na, ho gaya na. The manner in which somebody apologizes says a lot about their character. I am very observant about this because that magic word, sorry, I was giving you a tip about this. So here's something that I want you to write down if you can. An apology is not just made to the other person. You don't make an apology to the other person. You do word it in a fashion in which they get to know that you're making an apology to them. An apology is actually something that you make to yourself. If you understand the difference between self-love and self-respect, and if you're a self-respecting person, the apology is not being made to them. The apology is being made to you. When you say, I am so sorry that you had to go through this because of something that I did, you're not just saying that to them. You're saying that to yourself. Why? Because you're a self-respecting person. There is a second kind of people. They're called manipulators. They use apologizing as a peacemaking mechanism. If you have a manipulative person, no. They see that you're pissed at them. They're going to come to you. If they have the people skills, they're going to come to you. I've worked with people like this. They're going to come to you. They're going to sit with you and they're going to apologize till such and such time that you get shant, that you get calm, that you get happy and smiling again. These are manipulators. Be very careful of these people. They don't really believe that they did something wrong. They believe that you are a cranky person who needs to be ego massaged to get on with life. Oh my God, these manipulators are the greatest losers. They might be survivors in life, but they're the greatest losers. They will survive a lot of rough relationship issues because they know how to manipulate the other person. They know how to make somebody feel small. They feel small. I'm sorry. They know how to make somebody feel good in a small time window. They just know how to say the right thing. They know your triggers. They know your buttons. They know how to press them. That's not an apology. An apology, please write this down. An apology is a promise. A sorry is not just a statement. It's a promise. And what is that promise? That promise is called sorry is equal to I will never do this again. I will never do this again. That's what a sorry means. And if you find somebody saying sorry twice for the same thing, that's what a dishonorable person looks like. That's what a person who's out of control looks like. That's the kind of person that needs help. Needs help either because they need to be disciplined, needs help either or because they need help maybe on a psychiatric principle. Maybe they're just incapable of understanding the concept of adaptive behavior. You see, it's called adaptation. That's why the dinosaurs got extinct, remember? They could not adapt, it was too fast. We're not blaming the dinosaur, it is just the most popularly cited example when it comes to maladaptive behavior. When you get bullied in school, adapt to that behavior and make sure it never happens to you again. Say sorry to yourself. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Say sorry to yourself that you allowed it to happen. When you wrong somebody, when you bully someone, it doesn't need to be a physical push. You understand what I'm saying? When you bully someone, when you wrong someone, when you dishonor your commitment, when you're late, when you did not do what you said you would do, say sorry to yourself. Of course, say sorry to that person because you've wronged that person, but say sorry to yourself. Why? Because you let yourself down. If you're a self-respecting person, you need to say sorry to yourself. You need to allow yourself to feel an emotion that we keep very far away from ourselves because it's a very painful emotion. That emotion is called shame. If you can feel ashamed of yourself, I don't want you to imagine a circumstance where somebody else needs to make you feel ashamed. That's not cool. You know, there's this expression in Hindi that says, 𝗀𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗏 पकड़ी जाए. I hate that attitude. If somebody was not vigilant enough to catch you stealing, that does not mean that you did not steal. Get it? You need to be your own judge. You need to be your own harshest critic. Yes, 𝗍𝗏, don't feel sorry for yourself. Say sorry to yourself because you wronged yourself. And if you wronged yourself, you have to have the amount of self-respect to acknowledge it. You have to have the deficiency of self-love and the wealth of self-respect to acknowledge and say, I was below my own standards today. I need to say sorry to myself. That is called shame. And you know what comes after shame? This is getting too intense for you. You know what comes after shame? What comes after shame is something called determination. If you're listening to this, this is you I'm talking to. Please understand this very carefully. If you feel shame, be determined to never make that thing again. If you're late one day, make that the last day of your life when somebody checks you for being late. Even if nobody checked you, you should check yourself. Last month, I got rid of my therapist. I wanted to count the number of therapists that I've had. I got rid of my therapist. I'm hugely into psychology. I love the concept of therapy. I love to have somebody checking me on my path. I got rid of my therapist. I had an online therapist, and this was one of my professors from school, from university when I was studying psychology, and I was feeling very flattered that this person had said yes. And I got rid of my therapist because of a very important reason. I was late to my therapy session by 1 minute. I had, my session was supposed to start at 2:30 p.m. It was the middle of the day. I take my work ferociously seriously. So it meant a lot. That was the only session on offer. I didn't want to say no to that session because I really needed it. COVID was being hard to me. I was feeling very easy, so I wanted to really go and ask for help and see if I was going wrong somewhere. So it was 2:17. I rushed down. I was late to lunch. I rushed down, bolted my food down. That if you've ever bolted your food down, you'll know it doesn't make you feel very good at the end of it. So I had to, I didn't want to do lunch at 4 o'clock because that just spoils my rhythm. So bolted my food down. I ran up to my place where my camera was set up, my phone was set up, where I was supposed to go into my online session. And look at me saying my phone was set up. It was supposed to have been set up over there. It wasn't set up. I just realized that I had left my phone down. It was 2:31. I noticed that my laptop was logged into WhatsApp on web. I very quickly beat down a message and sent it to her at 2:31 saying, I'm extremely sorry for being late. Just give me a moment more. And in that period of time, I got my phone back. I get this message from her saying, that's absolutely fine. I am going to make myself some tea. make myself some tea. I've paid for this session. I just scrambled through my lunch to make sure that I was available. I was late by 60 seconds and this person casually walks off to make some tea. Well, this person was older to me. I'm not touchy about that to the extent that I'm expressing it right now. So I wanted to make sure that I wanted to let this person know that I noticed, and I said, I'm sorry that I was late, and you know, I didn't really find it very easy to come to terms with the fact that you got up to make tea in the middle of my time. So is there something that I need to understand? Do we have flexible timings and stuff? And she was so unapologetic about it. Oh my God. She said, are you in Germany? This is India. Sab chalta hai. I had to get rid of her. Sab chalta hai. Seriously. Seriously, this is the kind of stuff that, you know, so Germany gets the reputation for being professional. I've never seen professional people of the highest nature who don't value their time. If you're not on time, be apologetic about it. If you're not on time, set a system for the other person to get a compensation for the loss of time. If you're just the two of you and somebody is waiting, you should be very embarrassed about making somebody wait that you committed to go into a session with. This is weird. But this is not about me ranting about that person. This is about me saying there's a difference between a loser and a winner. And sab chalta hai is not going to let you win. If you have very low standards of expectation, you're not going to win. I beg you, I beseech you, I implore you, please expect more from yourself, because you are a diamond. You might be in the rough right now, but you are a diamond nonetheless. You're a very valuable person. If your parents don't expect much from you, don't worry about it. If your friends don't expect much from you, don't worry about it. If anyone that you care for don't expect much from you, let that not be a reason for you to not expect much from yourself. Because you're a diamond. You might be the answer. You might have the answer, you might be the answer to the problems that the world is going through. The world has so many problems. Corruption used to be one of the most important problems. Look at the kind of stuff that we're going through now. If you love yourself, do yourself the favor of respecting yourself. Make sure that you're worth the love that you give yourself. Don't go easy on yourself. Don't go too hard on yourself either. That's another part of self-respect, that you need to be able to understand when to stop, when to take a pause, when to sit down and meditate, when to understand what is a good time to sleep. All of that you can learn. Like Tony Robbins says, success leaves footprints. Follow in the paths of people who are better than you. Follow in the paths of people who've gone there. Trust me, there is a very, very large number of people who are successful. There's a very large number of people who are world class. If you want to consider them the top 1% of the world, we're talking about 1% of 7.3 billion people. That's a very large number. That's a very large number of people, right? There's a lot of competition at the top. And it's a very elite club to be a part of. You know, you'll see your life become so much more colorful. You'll see your life colorful. You'll see your life become so much more meaningful. You will never find it difficult to wake up in the morning and go to work. You'll never find it difficult to put in that extra effort. Go hug your parents today. Not because they did something great, but because you want to be a great family member. Make sure that your house gets at least some dose of joy because of you, because somebody took part in making that house become what it is. If you're working somewhere, I don't know how old you are, if you're working somewhere, make sure that your organization does not need to check you for underperformance. On the other hand, they should be able to see value, concrete value generated by you every single day. Make sure that there are no errors that come to your name saying ध्रुव ने इतनी गलतियां करी थी कि हम माथा पकड़ के बैठ गए, या वो वाली गलती ध्रुव ने करी थी और हम आज तक भुगत रहे हैं उसका. Make sure not to be remembered like that. Not because you're good at concealing your mistakes, but because you're just very good at not making them. You understand what I'm saying, right? If you're into a committed relationship, make sure that you're ready for that commitment, because commitment of any kind requires sacrifice. It's not just relationships, it's work, it's training, it's discipline, it's victory, it's everything. Anything worth doing is going to require you to commit yourself to that process. Make sure that you're ready for that, and make sure that when you answer that question of am I ready for commitment, you're not procrastinating, because you might just be choosing self-love over self-respect, and you know how that works, right? We've talked about that a lot today. So with that being said, this is Dhruv. I'm very glad to be back with you for our live sessions. I hope to do this more often. We've been very swamped with getting Logophilia online, and it's just a dream come true. You know what? So I have a confession to make. So I lost my hang up for Zoom. I used to be, हम Zoom पे नहीं पढ़ाएंगे कभी. This is a very, very tall ठाकुरों वाला वादा that I had done to myself. Not even a ठाकुर, but you know, we did FEW on Zoom, and it is so cool. You know, when previously, like I said, people would have to just be there at the right moment, at the right time, make sacrifices, cancel their reservations. Now, if somebody wants to study the fundamental etymology workshop, or you know, even public speaking is coming online, by the way. We'll talk about that. So, if somebody wants to do that, if they're not available for the session, we record it, we give it to them later. If they're not available in that city, it doesn't matter which part of the country you're in, which part of the world you're in. I'm so excited. I am every single day that I come to work, I come with this new zeal, because this is the beginning of the golden age of Logophilia. I believe that by October 2022, we will be very well established as an online presence in the world. We'd be very well established and very firmly grounded as the go-to people for vocabulary, not just in places that know us, but in places that have never heard about us, have never even heard about the significance of vocabulary or public speaking. Yeah, and we'll come to Logophilia for that. So with that being said, yeah, thanks all of you guys, wonderful. Is there somebody who has a question? Put it in the comments below, or come in a request to join in live with me. I'd be very thrilled. It's been a while since I took a question from somebody. Somebody wants to come in live? Hi Aryan, hi Pranjali, hi Vanchika. Lots of people. Hi Shivam. Hi, yes. Anyone who has a question? Yeah, PSP Online. Now, when we say PSP Online, so it's not going to be the classroom program. It's going to be something very different that we're making. It's going to have all the richness of PSP, but packaged into a program that can be done by people who are at a distance from us. And we're very excited. It's being made right now, and we're going to be launching it soon. Another thing that's coming up is Logophilia's 11th birthday. So you know when that is? It's the 26th of August. We'll be 11 years old, guys. And we every single time, this is tradition in Logophilia, every single time that we have a birthday, every birthday of Logophilia, we make a grand announcement. There's something grand coming up this year as well. And we're going to be very, very, very thrilled. There's something much grander coming up at the next part of this year, but that's something that we're building right now. So it's going to take a while. It's a very large announcement. So I don't even want to start hinting towards it. Just something really cool is coming, but don't confuse any of this for bragging. Of course, I'm bragging. This is my child. Logophilia is my child, so I will brag. But don't do yourself a favor and don't confuse this for bragging. I just want you to understand that I have to do this. I get to do this. I get to do Logophilia despite a lack of support, despite a lack of my city being a business city, despite a lack of direct in-person mentors that I can straight away go and ask, Sir, ye kaise karte hain? I have to find out through the Tony Robbins formula of success leaves footprints. I have to watch with eyes completely like that. Don't take a screenshot. Yeah, so like that. I gotta do that because I'm just super committed. If I had the right to see a dream, it is my responsibility to make it happen, and that's a privilege. Work is not slavery. I never get to say stuff like मुझे काम पे जाना है यार. I never get to say stuff like अरे पता है कल Saturday कल छुट्टी है. I'm saying कल Saturday कल छुट्टी है. What छुट्टी? I work Sundays as well. It's a privilege. And when I feel tired, I guard myself on Sundays or whatever days. If I have to take a break in the middle of the week, I do that because I'm in this for the long run. I'm fully committed. I'm into a committed relationship with Logophilia, and I'm not looking to go away. I'm not looking to take up a job. I'm not looking to run away. If I have to go down, I'm the captain of the ship. I will go down smiling with it. That's how you make a promise. But learn to be a winner. It's something that can be learned. It's a beautiful thing. Talents might be inherent. Winning is a behavior that can be learned. And anything that can be learned, if you want to trust Logophilia in what our topmost tenet is, anything that can be learned is easy. It's easy to learn stuff. Because these are not God gifts. These are things that you can acquire by sheer effort. You can become great at English. वो अलग लोग नहीं होते हैं. You can become great at speaking. वो अलग लोग नहीं होते. You can become great at biology and psychology and maths. वो अलग लोग नहीं होते. Anything that can be learnt is easy. That's the Logophilia way of life. With that being said, because there are no questions, because you guys are being lazy, this is Dhruv saying bye. I'm so glad. Let's do this more often, guys. Let's do this more often. I want to make a slightly more concrete commitment. I'm struggling to do that. There's a lot of pile-on. FEW lasted for 17 days. Yeah, 17. Can you imagine that? We normally do 11. Lasted for 17 days. There's another FEW coming in, by the way, guys. There's an FEW coming in the first part of August. We're registering people for that. If you want to come in to FEW, please come in. If you want to send your friends to FEW, please come in. If you want to ask us about the referral program that Logophilia has, just write in a message to us on Instagram and say, what's the referral program? Can I send in students? Just figure all of that out. We're growing as an organization. We're learning the tricks of the trade. And we're very happy and excited to be ushering in the last part of the young Logophilia. We're becoming a mature organization. We're very, very, very glad to be there. So that being said, this is Dhruv saying bye. Thank you so much for being a part of our live today.